Okay, it is Thursday, the 21st of January, and today we are looking at starting to write our story. So we should have planned it, got all our ideas together. We practiced all lots of little bits of it, so now we're going to start putting it together. First thing though, looking at our rule, adding our Y. We've got 8 words here, but some mistakes have been made. They're all actually spelled wrongly. Can you correct them and see what mistakes have been made and then correct them? I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. Okay, so they're all based on the mistakes, are all based on the rules we looked at yesterday. So some of them here, so practically, tragically, magically, and fantastically, all end in IC before you add the LY, so they need to be ally, A-double-L-Y. So I sort of say it in my head, practically, tragically, magically, fantastically. Angrily, obviously ends in a Y. So it should, that Y should change into an I there for angrily. With these two, responsibly and possibly, well, that E should come off the end of responsibly and it doesn't need 2 L's. So it should just, that L and the E should come out. So it should just be I-B-L-Y on the end. And then possibly, you've already got an L once you take the E off. So it's just, you add a Y on the end of that one. So that's the correct ones. Actually, ends in an L. So you don't need, you just add ly. You don't, you just add it ends in a y. So it ends in an L, so you just add ly. Simple as that. So actually should have 2 L's in the end, a little bit like joyfully we looked at yesterday. Okay. Oh yeah, why might this word then be an exception? So we've looked at the rules. This word here is an exception to the rule. Why might that be an exception? Think about what would happen if you add ly on the end. Well, the reason it is an exception, and there might be others, but this is the most obvious one that we perhaps use the most often, is that actually this needs A-double-L-Y, so it's accidentally. Even though it doesn't end in IC, you still add A-double-L-Y. I don't know why that is. That's just one of those, that's why it's an exception to the rule. It's just the way it's kind of evolved to be written, I suppose. But that's just one which comes up quite a lot, so it's quite useful to remember that one. Okay. So this is what we were looking at last time. So this is the kind of a plan of the min pins. Yours might be different by now, but you should have the same success criteria, and you can see there where they come in the story. Now, we're only going to look at the first 2 sections of the story today. And it may look like a lot of success criteria, but again, you're not thinking about all of it all at once. You're only thinking about sort of 1 or 2 things per paragraph, really. So my one is slightly different. I'm going to write these 2 bits today. So I'm going to start with the boy being at home, dreaming of doing exciting things. I'm going to show his character a little bit. And then I've changed mine to a cave rather than a forest. So he's going to go into a cave and he's going to hear a huge monster. So I'm going to describe my cave. And then I'm going to create a little bit of suspense when he starts to hear the monster. So I'm just going to try and type it myself. So I've started off with this, and again, you might want to change the name of your character, but you can start with whoever it is was sat at home gazing out of the window. That's absolutely fine. So I would steal that line if you want. I've changed mine to poor Jimmy. I'm going to put in poor Jimmy all the way through, just because it kind of amuses me. So poor Jimmy was sat at home gazing out of the window. So I want to kind of have his mother there as well, because if I haven't got his mother there, it's kind of odd as to where is this, but why is he not being looked after? So window, his mother was, now in the story, she was ironing. His mother was busy. I don't even want her ironing. I want her doing something. She's paying him even less attention. Watching her favorite soap. His mother was busy watching her favorite soap on the TV in the other room. Occasionally. Oh, there's another one of these rules. Look, occasionally. That's an exception too. Occasionally calling out, what are you up to in there? There you go. So poor Jim was sat at home gazing out of the window. His mother was busy watching her favorite soap on the TV in the other room, occasionally calling out, what are you up to in there? Perfect. So now, new paragraph, because I'm going to go back to Jimmy again. So we talked about his mother. I'm going to go back to Jimmy. poor Jimmy would have loved, and I'm going to describe his character a bit, would have loved to be up to something. Up to something. Poor Jimmy would have loved to be up to something, but he, I want to say he was very good. He was always very good, but he would love to be up to something, but he was just too, but he was very well behaved. Because I wanted to say he was too well behaved, but I think that worked better in this sentence. So he was very well behaved, full stop, too well behaved, he thought. Too well behaved. I want to emphasize that too. I'm going to make that italics. Poor Jim would have loved to be up to something, but he was very well behaved. Too well behaved, he thought. And now I'm going to put some things of what he was thinking of. He dreamt of, what were some of the things that you came up with that I quite liked? He dreamt of, I can't remember now. He dreamt of putting, he dreamt of, what could he be dreaming of doing? He dreamt of, sliding down the stairs on his, now I could have put he's sliding down the stairs on a skateboard, but I don't even think he would have a skateboard. I don't think his mum would let him. He's dreamt of sliding down the stairs on a tea tray. So one of those trays you carry your food on. He dreamt of sliding down the stairs on a tea tray, comma, putting itching powder. Putting itching powder, that's very Roald Dahl. Putting itching powder in his mother's knicker drawer. Knicker drawer, comma, or even leaving the house and going to the cave of doom that he could see out of the window. Now, I've got to mention he's not going to do any of these things. Window. However, he just replied. In fact, I want to show his character a bit more. So he just yawned because he's bored. He yawned and replied. What's he going to say to his mother? I'm going to copy it from the book. I'm being good, mummy. So there we go. So poor Jimmy would have loved to be up to something, but he was very well behaved. Too well behaved, he thought. He dreamt of sliding down the stairs on a tea tray, putting itching powder in his mother's knicker drawer, or even leaving the house and going to the cave of doom that he could see out of the window. However, he just yawned and replied, I'm being good, mummy. So now I've got to go from that, because it's a new paragraph. Now I've got to go from that. I've set his character up. I've described his character. I've got to go for him going into the cave of doom. However, on this particular day, on this particular day, poor Jimmy was, maybe he's so, what's going to change about why he's going to suddenly go out the window? He was so bored. He was so bored, he even thought he was, on this particular day, poor Jimmy was so tired of being, was so tired of being good. It kind of needs a power of three. It needs three things, doesn't it? On this particular day, poor Jim was so bored, was so tired of being good, was so fed up that he did something he had never dared to before. Exclamation mark? No, full stop there. and now put an exclamation mark for the next one. He slipped out of the back door, and I put so the reader knows that why isn't mum coming after him when his mother wasn't looking, and headed up the hill towards the cave of doom, exclamation mark. Okay, so now we've got him going into the cave. So now all I've got to do, this next bit, is just describe the cave. So that we're going to describe the cave. The cave was dark and cold. Nice and simple sentence there. The cave was dark and cold. What else might be in the cave then? I imagine the cave, I want to make it a bit scary. So I don't want it to be, whenever you go to caves, they're like wet, aren't they? Because there's water coming down the walls. So cold water trickled, but I've had cold. Cave is dark and cold, cold water trickled. Let's have icy. Cave is dark and cold, icy water trickled down the craggy walls. The craggy walls. Do I want that? Is there something else? Down the rocky walls, the rough walls. Oh, I kind of like that. That's better actually. Icy water trickled down the rough walls, and trickled down the rough walls, and his feet splashed into puddles. What else could I have now? So he's going to go in. As he went further in, he's going to go further. As he went further in, we're going to have him hearing something. What might he hear? As he went further in, oh, maybe it echoes, doesn't it? As he went further in, what's going to echo? He could. He's not going to shout. He might accidentally kick a stone. That might echo, or maybe just the raindrop, but like not raindrops, but the drops falling down from the ceiling into these puddles might echo. As he went further in, the echoes of water droplets falling became loud and eerie. Became loud and eerie, or made a loud and eerie sound. That'll do, rather than became that. As he went further in, the echoes of water droplets falling made a loud and eerie sound. He felt a little nervous, but taking a small torch from his pocket, he could see taking a small from probably taking a small torch from the pocket, taking a small torch from his pocket, he crept on. Full stop. The torchlight made huge shadows against the walls. The torchlight made huge, or cast huge shadows. Maybe, yeah, cast. The torchlight cast huge shadows on the walls. Torchlight cast huge shadows on the walls, and he thought he saw some rats scuttling away into the darkness, perhaps into the darkness. Cool. So that's basically where I've got to. So I've described my boy there, and what his character's like. I've had like why you just had him just slipping out really quick, and then I've described my cave. So that's roughly where you get to today. That's pretty much where we're to get to today. So yeah, have a go at that. Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow.